hello. Here we are today, and with the first of my interviews that I'm going to be doing in this set of vlogs. And this is Valerie Sylvester. Thank you, Valerie, for being with me today.
My pleasure.
And Valerie has been with the PSO over this past season as the concertmaster. And I thought that that's what we would do today, Valerie, is I just talk to you and ask you what does it mean to be the concertmaster? Because people often ask me this, why does Valerie come out or a concertmaster come out and bow and ask for the A, and is that all you do? So
Oh, okay.
maybe you could just tell us some of the things that you do, and maybe we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, I would say it's a lot more than that. That's probably the least of it is the going out and bowing. Um, the main thing is before rehearsals start, weeks, months, whatever beforehand, I start learning the parts, and I look at scores, all that kind of stuff. Like you have to really study it as well as practice it. And then the with the other principals, we have to basically I'm sort of responsible for setting bowings, which means the direction of all the string players' bows have to kind of go in the same direction. It looks better. It actually is a more unified emotional content. And so I sort of set what I think should be what my section will do, and then kind of collaborate with the other string players in order to get that all sorted out. And that has to happen by at least 2 weeks before any program has its first rehearsal, because everyone in the section has a lot of work to do putting in all the bowings and learning them into their parts.
So
And that's the
I
first thing.
think a thing that most people don't realize, and also I would have to say that a lot of non-string players don't realize what the difference is when how a bowing will change how a piece of music sounds.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite a drastic thing. And actually, that's the other thing. And that brings me to the next thing. In rehearsal, a conductor will say, like you would say something like, well, that sounds a little too delicate, or that sounds too strong, or whatever. And it's primarily my job, but the other principals as well, to decide how to make that into a string technique. So you could say something about the sound or the emotional content or the phrasing or whatever, but it's up to me to figure out, okay, maybe we can do it by doing it this way instead. And I'll tell the others, maybe we're playing really long and swoopy bows, and suddenly we have to play it really short instead. And that's more the emotional thing you're asking for or whatever. So in a way, I'm the string translator. So I translate what you do into a string technique.
So, so there's a leadership role that's here that you really see during rehearsals, um, and and I think is there a personality, or maybe not personality, but I guess what I'm going to ask is there a psychological element to this? Do you think?
There is a little bit because, well, first of all, I have to be able to feel comfortable to ask you questions in rehearsal. Like if I think something's not going well for a particular technical reason, I have to have the courage to ask you, like, can we do this again? Or what do you think about this section? Or can we try this way? Because sometimes actually I get distracted if I have to, my job is really to listen more to not what I'm doing, but what everyone else is doing and see how it fits together. Um, into especially the strings, but also the whole orchestra in a way, to just sort of kind of be on the alert a little bit for
So
what's
it's a
going
little
on.
bit of it's a almost slightly a role of translating as well, because every conductor is different. You know, every conductor has a different way of expressing gestures because we're all different people. We all have different bodies. And so a concertmaster often has to figure out where the sound happens, you
Yeah,
know?
that's the other main thing that we do, which is a kind of a weird thing. Like people may have noticed that when I'm playing, and if you see the whole orchestra together, I keep waving my hands around. I shouldn't do that. I'm generally moving more than most of the other players, and basically what that is I'm doing two things. I'm showing where I'm going to play to invite all the people around me to join me on in that exact nanosecond that I'm playing. So basically, I'm kind of interpreting what you're doing into a signal that is a string signal. But also, I'm letting you know this is where I think you mean for me to go, because then you can correct it. And so it's almost like I'm the conduit for this for the strings to do what they do, and you fix whatever you don't like, kind of based on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll ask you, can we try this in two instead of four or whatever, that kind of thing too. Because sometimes I think, and sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, whatever, or sometimes I'll say, can we do that one more time? And actually, it's been quite a pleasure this past season because often you'll say yes, which is nice because sometimes I like to go over things more than I ought to.
Well, we like to work, don't we? We like to rehearse.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I've got a couple of questions that some people have sent in to me, Valerie, and I'm going to be the conduit this time from
Okay.
between our supporters and you. And so the first one I have is that um, how do you become a concertmaster? Is there a special training for this?
Okay. In a short word, no, there isn't. Most of you learn by doing, but not just, you don't just learn by being a concertmaster. I mean, that's the number one way, but also by sitting behind good concertmasters in a section and seeing how they work and how they signal and stuff. So I've learned by watching a lot of orchestras and being in orchestras, seeing it, and then just years and years of experience. I've done a lot of other orchestras, choral, opera, various things, and so you just kind of learn by trial and error. I try not to focus on those errors, but you do learn over the years. Actually, the historical function of a concertmaster over the years and stuff. I've read a lot of things, but no, there isn't actually a course for it. I mean, there are certain concertmaster solos that we all have to learn, and so you do tend to learn those things. But for the
Yeah.
actual on-the-job thing, and every concertmaster is so different. Some signal less or more, and that also is a big difference. I've worked with concertmasters who don't signal everything, and so people are kind of like, what's going to happen next? It depends.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own personal style, and actually, I modify it depending on what the conductor wants too, of course.
Well, you just mentioned a minute ago about the historical significance or where the idea of a concertmaster came from. And I think this leads into the next question that I have. Concertmasters come out on stage at the beginning of a concert and they turn to the principal oboe and the oboe gives the A. Why does this happen this way?
Okay, actually, okay, well, I'll tell you, there are a couple of questions there. The oboe A is, I think, the best A because, and I think everyone thinks this, because it's the oboe sound has a lot of what we call harmonics in it. There's a lot of sort of components to the sound, so it's really easy to hear and tune to. Also, the oboe players make their reeds. They're constantly making reeds. About half of their practice time is making reeds, and so if they basically make a reed to suit a particular pitch. So if we have what we call A is at the frequency of 440 hertz, but if we were to change it suddenly, the oboes would have to go and make a new reed. So the oboes are, I don't want to say they're not flexible, but they've made their reed already. So their A is what we need to take. The reason why, there are two reasons. I think when I come out and bow, I'm bowing on behalf of the orchestra. But part of the reason, and this is kind of a secret, but I'll say it anyway, it's to get the audience to stop talking so we can hear ourselves in tune. So we have to have everybody stop so that we can tune, and stops the orchestra from talking and warming up too, which is also important. Also, I
No.
think the sound of tuning, at least for me, but I think for a lot of people, I think that sound is magical to hear an orchestra start with the A and the whole thing tune, and it kind of psychs you up for the performance. I love it when I go to concerts, and so I think also it's nice to have a formal time when the audience gets to listen to something that's really the nuts and bolts of what we do instead of the performance.
Do you get one word I would use is nervous. I don't know if you might feel nervous before walking out, or is there, what do you feel that just in those last couple of seconds before you're going out to ask for that aid?
Mostly I feel really excited. I mean, it's weird because excitement and nerves, there's a very fine line between those two, but mostly I feel really excited. Sometimes I have to really be careful because, I could trip on the way out as I'm so excited or whatever. But mostly I'm just like, yeah, let's get this show on the road. Let's go. And I'm really, like, I almost want to run out, and say, hi, I'm really glad you're here. In a way, that's what I'm doing when I'm going out is I'm kind of looking at the audience saying, yippee, that kind of thing.
Have you ever
So
seen
yeah, I don't get
anybody
really
tripping
nervous.
going out? Have you ever seen a conductor trip going out or coming back or fall or anything like this, or you?
No,
Or
but I have played concerts with a lot of pop instruments with there are a lot of cables and stuff on the floor, and I often will ask the conductor like, can I just not go out and just start the concert from my seat, just to be on the safe side.
You've been with us for a relatively short time because it's really been this past season. What does the PSO mean to you? What kind of a role does it play for you, or what do you see, or how do you feel about being with the PSO?
Oh, okay. Well, this actually it's an interesting question because although I've only been playing full time with the orchestra since last September, I did sub in a lot. I think maybe over the last 4 or 5 years, I've
Yeah.
subbed in a lot on Wednesdays, but also played on the concerts in the section or whatever various times. And so I've had a chance before I started in September to really get a sense of the orchestra. And I have to say, I really love being there full time. Like now, I really, oh my goodness, I love this orchestra. So the people are really nice. Like it's a really, it's a, I mean, obviously everyone's very friendly, but also the two things I really like in a work situation are people are really enthusiastic, but really geeky and hardworking. And I like that combination of serious hardworking plus being just having so much fun doing it. So I really like it. And I mean, Peterborough is a great city. What I know of it, it's like a little arts hub in a way. And it's sort of I mean, I understand why so many Torontonians are starting to retire to Peterborough. It's a really cool city, and I love playing to a packed audience in the hall, and the whole thing is just, even the board people that I've met are nice, and the stage hand, like the crew, and it's a really nice overall, a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's a very special orchestra and a very special place too. I love, as most people know, I've been living in Peterborough for a long time, close to 20 years now, and it's a great place to live as well. It really is. Um, Valerie, I think a lot of us are interested. I'm interested in this. This is a personal question I have too. Uh, what do you do besides play the violin? Do you have other interests? Do you have other hobbies and things?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I mean, I have a lot of music hobbies as well as, unfortunately, as well as all my serious music. But I have a weird hobby, which is I decided many years ago to start learning one of my ancestral languages, which is Macedonian, which is, of the former Yugoslavia. And I started doing that just for fun, taking courses at U of T, going to the country and taking courses, the whole bit. And it's just fun. And then I branched into the ethnic dances of that region and a little bit the music as well. And I go to this geeky camp in the States every year for this. And so, yeah, I have a lot of fun with that. And it's kind of cool, actually. I have to say this one thing that's very funny. I know you speak Polish, and I remember one dress rehearsal we were in where you described a passage in what we were playing, and you used Polish word, which is just kind of a pan-Slavic word, and it was like, yes, I know what you're saying. The same word using one of the non-Slavic languages.
Languages are funny because sometimes they lodge in your brain, and you might, even if you're speaking your native language, in our case we're both native English speakers, but sometimes that other word in that other language just doesn't want to get out of you.
Yes, and actually, if you had said it in English, it wouldn't have had as much significance for me. So it was perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks very much for talking to me, Valerie, and thank you for being our concertmaster. We are really looking forward to getting back together, I think, and
I
all of
can't
us.
wait. It's entirely my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.